Okay, so we know the Department of Energy is heavily involved in the UFO control group. Furthermore, we know that the UFO control group has super soldiers, and from Lance Corporal Weigand's account, we know that super soldiers, or at least soldiers, from the Department of Energy were there in Peru dealing with a crash retrieval and arresting him and threatening him. So we have new information, or at least I have new information, that the Department of Energy did indeed have their own elite squad of commandos. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, yeah, the control group has got super soldiers. The Department of Energy is big into the control group. So what is the deal, right? Well, here we go. From taskandpurpose.com, the Department of Energy has a nuclear commando task force in the 1980s that looks straight out of Counter-Strike. What? So are we looking at a super soldier right here or something like that? Is that what these guys are? Is this the goons of the control group? The very same guys that arrested Lance Corporal Weigand in Peru and maybe who later terrorized Michael Herrera in Indonesia, although at that point they weren't the Department of Energy, or at least they weren't noticeably the Department of Energy. So, but yeah, tactical gear and special operations training are not limited just to the ranks of the U.S. military. Various U.S. government agencies and departments have militarized law enforcement and SWAT units formed to deal with emergencies, attacks, and hostage situations. That said, looking like an operator is not always the same as being one, but it's still not too surprising to discover that the Department of Energy has its own elite task force and that it absolutely means business. During the late stages of the Cold War, the DOE's anti-nuclear terrorism team looked like menacing Black Ops commandos straight out of a video game. Seriously, you look at those dudes. Man, that is crazy. Yeah, what does it say here? Anti-nuclear terrorist team entrusted with moving government's nuclear armed arsenal around the country in action during simulated attack with guns, wearing black combat garb, face mask, and protective goggles. Yeah, that is really interesting. Photojournalist Steve Northup captured a series of images of the obscure team in training back in 1987 at the DOE Central Training Academy, now known as the DOE National Training Center, which is on Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah, and here some of these guys are. I love the comment here. It says they're straight out of Stargate SG-1 in Counter-Strike. That's crazy. That's crazy. The DOE has a large force of highly trained fighters for emergency situations. I wonder what those emergency situations are. Since they are the security teams charged with protecting the country's nuclear power, weapons and reactors, and specifically what the department calls Category 1 Special Nuclear Material. Yeah, I think they probably have another category as well called U.F.O. Established in the 1950s, these security teams are officially known by the vague moniker Federal Protective Forces and are currently situated under the jurisdiction of the National Nuclear Security Administration, a semi-autonomous arm of the DOE. So is that the control group? Is that what we're talking about right there? The National Nuclear Security Administration? All right, I'm not going to read the whole article, but it is interesting that the FPF is made up of contractors rather than pulled from the Department of Defense. So does that mean these are mercs? Who are these guys? Very, very interesting. I will link to the article below. But yeah, Lance Corporal Weigand, when he was in Peru and he saw that UFO, there was a crash. He and his team went out to secure it, not knowing it was a UFO, just thought it was a crash. And they got out there, and he was a little bit more ambitious than the other guys, and he got closer to it, and it seems like he telepathically interacted with at least one of the beings there. Then promptly, the Department of Energy goons, soldiers, showed up and arrested him. Apparently, they didn't arrest the other guys, but they arrested him, and they took him back to their local base of operations, where he saw an international consortium. Not just the U.S., but even people from China were there. China in the 90s. That's crazy. So what exactly is going on, right? How big is this? How international is this? Where exactly was this base? What was it doing? Clearly, it was retrieving UFOs. Was it also shooting at them or managing the shooting of them, the war on UFOs, or at least some aspect of the UFOs? Because they seem to be working with some beings, but shooting at other beings, potentially involving humanity in some sort of cosmic conflict that we may not want to be in. And that is one huge reason why official government UFO disclosure is so important. We need to know what these guys have been up to and very possibly fix it or approve of it. However, based on what Lance Corporal Wygant was seeing, he came away with the impression they were financing themselves through the black market. And that is backed up by Michael Herrera's account, what he saw in Indonesia, where he saw them actually using a UFO that seemed to be a human-flown UFO, and they were, loading weapons and very possibly people aboard that UFO. And so that's horrifying if that's the case. Was that also going on in Peru back in the 90s? Has that widespread? What exactly are they doing? We know that the control group funds itself in part from redirecting money from Congress. That's something that David Grush himself has talked about. And that now that has really motivated Congress to get to the bottom of this, or at least some parts of Congress. They don't like their money being spent where they didn't want it to be spent. And for that reason alone, some of them are more motivated to get to the truth of this. Hey, whatever it takes to get you in the game, right? But getting back to the super soldier thing, they have come up a lot, or not a lot. I don't want to say a lot. They're actually pretty stealthy, and maybe they only are employed during times of great need. I'm thinking of the Majes Brazil case that I did a report on a few months ago. The UFO battle over Majes Brazil, over a munitions factory, if I remember correctly. And remember, the UFO battle that just occurred in Argentina was also over a munitions factory. Starting to see a pattern, right? Really interesting. Well, in Majes Brazil, the UFO control group shot down 2 UFOs who may or may not have been targeting this munitions factory. At least they were interested in it. The UFOs crashed. The super soldiers, like these guys, potentially went up to the one of the UFOs, executed the beings in it, who were said to be the size, human-looking, but the size of basketball players. We don't have any additional information about that. Is that Nordics? Is that tall whites? Is that some other group entirely? No clue. Could even have been tall grays or something like that. Yeah, we don't know. But then the other UFO that had crashed further away in the jungle, because the first one crashed closer to the munitions facility, and I believe there was at least one human casualty working in the munitions facility. That we don't know if he was killed by the UFOs or by, as a collateral damage from the attack on the UFOs. But in any case, the super soldiers hunted the survivors of the second UFO through the jungle. That's right, guys like this. It sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie. It really does. But super soldiers from the control group hunted down those beings and very likely executed them, just as they did the occupants of the first UFO. That is from witness accounts. Again, information on this is very scanty, but there are numerous videos of these UFOs, and I refer you to the video I made and also the source video that I pulled from. So, and there's a little other information about that case. There was a lot at the time. That's the interesting thing about Majes, or one of the interesting things about the Majes case, is when this happened a couple of years ago. There was stuff all over Reddit and the internet about this. People that had seen this and were videoing this were posting their videos and their takes online. And then, like that, all of a sudden, it vanished. It was scrubbed from the internet. These goons, or their masters, got on the internet and just wiped it all out. Luckily, some of it was archived, and later people were able to find it and utilize it and learn from it. And, like me, put it out there for others to see. But a fascinating and important case where we see not only the UFO control group war against the UFOs and also super soldiers and live beings that were then executed. So an amazing case. I wish we had more information on it, but there seems to be a lot going on south of the border, especially in South America, Peru, Brazil, Argentina. Are these super soldiers right now hunting down the 7 foot tall glowing beings or silver beings that were terrorizing people and might still be terrorizing people in Peru? Well, we don't know. But it is fascinating that now we have confirmation that the Department of Energy had their own elite soldiers who were contractors, not pulled from the government. That is super, super fascinating, and it dovetails a lot with what we've heard from other accounts from people encountering soldiers like this, like in the Michael Herrera case. So, really, really fascinating. Are these super soldiers still working for, or maybe these aren't these super soldiers. Maybe this is simply some elite SWAT team as they are, said to be. But it is also entirely possible that these are the super soldiers, or at least the gateway into the super soldier program from the Department of Energy. Jacques Vallée said to get to the UFO program, to be read into the UFO program, you must first be read into the nuclear secrets through the Department of Energy. So they are a huge player in all of this. And now we know they had, at one point, their own elite team of soldiers that were contractors. Again, I find that extremely fascinating, but let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider becoming a channel member. See the first link in the description below. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.